race session is at 2018, layout in Road, Atlanta, USA. Riley Gallardo is first. Ted Hoff is P2. Kevin Woodward is P3. Panzeref 1 is 4th. James Pendry is P5. Walter Phillips is P6. Gordon Jacobson is 7th. Shea Stanley is 8th. Jen Markov is P9. Andrew G is 10th. Riley Gallardo is first.
Boogity, boogity, boogity. Let's go racing, boys!
James Pendry in T1 is second. James Pendry lost second to Ted Hoff. Kevin Woodward in the SEs is fourth. Panzeref 1 in T6 is 5th. Ted Hoff in T9 is 2nd. Panzeref 1 in T11 is 5th. Shea Stanley in T1 is 8th. Panzeref 1 is 5th, 0.6 behind Kevin Woodward. Shea Stanley on lap 2 is P8, 0.1 behind Gordon Jacobson. Shea Stanley passed Gordon Jacobson for 7th. Andrew G is P9, 0.3 behind Gordon Jacobson. Kevin Woodward in T2 is P4, 0.4 behind James Pendry. Panzeref 1 in T7 is 5th, 0.6 behind Kevin Woodward. Kevin Woodward in T9 is P4, 0.5 behind James Pendry. Panzeref 1 in T1 on lap 4 is P5, 1.0 behind Kevin Woodward. Kevin Woodward in T6 is P4, 0.8 behind James Pendry. Panzer F1 is P5, 0.8 behind Kevin Woodward. Kevin Woodward in T4 is P4, 0.8 ahead of Panzer F1. Panzer F1 is 5th. Kevin Woodward is 4th, 0.3 ahead of Panzer F1. Panzer F1 in T12 is P5, 0.2 behind Kevin Woodward. Panzer F1 passed Kevin Woodward for P4. Kevin Woodward in T4 is P5, 0.1 behind Panzer F1. Gordon Jacobson is P10, 0.5 behind Jen Markov. Gordon Jacobson passed Jen Markov for P9. Kevin Woodward in T9 is P5, 0.1 behind Panzer F1. Ted Hoff in T4 is P2, 1.6 behind Riley Gallardo. Panzer F1 in T6 is P4, 1.1 behind James Pendry. Gordon Jacobson in T4 is P10, 1.3 behind Jen Markov. Panzer F1 in T4 is P4, 0.7 behind James Pendry. Gordon Jacobson is 10th, 0.3 behind Jen Markov. Gordon Jacobson passed Jen Markov for 9th. Jen Markov is 10th, 0.5 behind Gordon Jacobson. Panzer F1 in T12 is 4th, 0.5 behind James Pendry. Ted Hoff in T6 is 2nd, 2.0 behind Riley Gallardo. Panzer F1 in T9 is P4, 0.9 behind James Pendry. Ted Hoff in T3 is 2nd, 2.3 behind Riley Gallardo. Panzer F1 is P4, 0.6 behind James Pendry. Kevin Woodward is 5th, 2.0 behind Panzer F1. Panzer F1 in T2 is P4, 0.7 behind James Pendry. Kevin Woodward in T6 is P5, 2.1 behind Panzer F1. Panzer F1 in T9 on lap 11 is P4, 0.4 behind James Pendry. Kevin Woodward in T1 on lap 12 is P5, 1.5 behind Panzer F1. Panzer F1 in T6 is P4, 0.6 behind James Pendry. Kevin Woodward is P5, 1.5 behind Panzer F1. Panzer F1 is 4th, 0.2 behind James Pendry. Panzer F1 lost 4th to Kevin Woodward. Ted Hoff in T8 is 2nd, 1.2 behind Riley Gallardo. Panzer F1 in T8 is P5, 0.2 behind Kevin Woodward. Panzer F1 passed Kevin Woodward for P4. Kevin Woodward in T10A is 5th, 0.1 behind Panzer F1. Kevin Woodward passed Panzer F1 for P4. Kevin Woodward lost 4th to Panzer F1. Ted Hoff is 2nd, 1.0 behind Riley Gallardo. Panzer F1 is P5, 0.6 behind Kevin Woodward. Ted Hoff in T2 is 2nd, 1.3 behind Riley Gallardo. Panzer F1 in the SEs is P5, 0.5 behind Kevin Woodward. Shea Stanley in T8 is P9, 0.2 behind Gordon Jacobson. Panzer F1 in T9 is 5th, 0.3 behind Kevin Woodward. Shea Stanley is P9, 0.1 behind Gordon Jacobson. Kevin Woodward is P5, 0.1 behind Panzer F1. Kevin Woodward passed Panzer F1 for 4th. Panzer F1 is P5, 0.3 behind Kevin Woodward. Shea Stanley is 9th, 0.2 behind Gordon Jacobson. Kevin Woodward is 5th, 0.3 behind Panzer F1. Kevin Woodward passed Panzer F1 for 4th. Kevin Woodward lost 4th to Panzer F1. Gordon Jacobson in T4 on lap 16 is P8, 1.3 behind Andrew G. Kevin Woodward is 5th, 0.3 behind Panzer F1. Ted Hoff is second, 1.8 behind Riley Gallardo. Kevin Woodward is P5, 0.7 behind Panzer F1. The leader has just finished the race. Riley Gallardo finished P1. Ted Hoff finished P2. James Pendry finished P3. Panzer F1 finished P4. Kevin Woodward finished 5th. Andrew G finished P7. Gordon Jacobson finished 8th. Walter Phillips finished 6th. Shea Stanley finished P9. Jen Markov finished P10. The race session is at 2018 layout in Road Atlanta, USA. Jen Markov is first. Shea Stanley is second. Gordon Jacobson is P3. Andrew G is P4. Walter Phillips is 5th. Kevin Woodward is P6. Panzer F1 is 7th. James Pendry is P8. Ted Hoff is P9. Riley Gallardo is P10. Jen Markov is P1.
Boogity, boogity, boogity! Let's go racing, boys!
Gordon Jacobson in T1 is third. Gordon Jacobson is now P5. Panzer F1 in the SEs is P7. Panzer F1 is now 5th. James Pendry in T6 is P2. Ted Hoff in T9 is third. Riley Gallardo in T11 is fourth. Andrew G is 8th, 0.4 behind Jen Markov. Kevin Woodward in T4 on lap 2 is P9 battling Andrew G. Kevin Woodward is now P7. Andrew G is P8, 0.4 behind Kevin Woodward. Andrew G is now P7. Panzer F1 is P3 battling Riley Gallardo. Panzer F1 is now second. Riley Gallardo in T12 on lap 2 is P3, 0.4 behind Panzer F1. Kevin Woodward in the SEs is 6th, 0.7 behind Shea Stanley. Riley Gallardo in T8 is 3rd. Kevin Woodward is P6, 0.3 behind Shea Stanley. Panzer F1 is 3rd. Kevin Woodward is P6, 0.2 behind Shea Stanley. Panzer F1 in T8 is 3rd, 0.6 behind Riley Gallardo. Jen Markov in T8 is P8, 0.5 behind Shea Stanley. Jen Markov passed Shea Stanley for 7th. Shea Stanley in T10B is P8, 0.5 behind Jen Markov. Shea Stanley passed Jen Markoff for P7. Jen Markoff in T2 is P8, 0.4 behind Shea Stanley. Jen Markoff passed Shea Stanley for 7th. Panzer F1 in T10B is 3rd, 2.1 behind Riley Gallardo. Gordon Jacobson is P8, 2.6 behind Jen Markoff. Panzer F1 in T8 is 3rd, 2.7 behind Riley Gallardo. Gordon Jacobson is 8th, 0.5 behind Jen Markoff. Jen Markoff is 8th battling Gordon Jacobson. Kevin Woodward is P5, 3.7 behind Walter Phillips. Jen Markoff in the SEs is P8. Kevin Woodward is 5th, 2.7 behind Walter Phillips. Gordon Jacobson is 7th, 3.1 behind Andrew G. Andrew G was 70.8 faster last lap. Kevin Woodward is P5, 2.5 behind Walter Phillips. Panzer F1 in T4 is 3rd, 0.5 behind Ted Hoff. Kevin Woodward in T6 on lap 9 is P5, 1.5 behind Walter Phillips. Panzer F1 in T11 is P3, 1.0 behind Ted Hoff. Kevin Woodward in T3 is 5th, 0.8 behind Walter Phillips. Panzer F1 is P3, 1.8 behind Ted Hoff. Kevin Woodward is 5th, 0.5 behind Walter Phillips. Walter Phillips in T1 is P5 battling Kevin Woodward. Jen Markov is 8th, 1.1 behind Andrew G. Walter Phillips on lap 11 is P5, 1.1 behind Kevin Woodward. Jen Markov in T6 on lap 11 is 8th, 3.1 behind Andrew G. Shea Stanley entering the pits is 9th. Walter Phillips is P5, 1.3 behind Kevin Woodward. Panzer F1 is P3, 4.7 behind Ted Hoff. Walter Phillips in the SEs is P5, 2.1 behind Kevin Woodward. Panzer F1 is 3rd, 4.6 behind Ted Hoff. Walter Phillips in T12 is P5, 3.0 behind Kevin Woodward. Jen Markov is 8th. Walter Phillips is P5, 3.4 behind Kevin Woodward. Kevin Woodward in T1 is 4th, 4.2 ahead of Walter Phillips. Walter Phillips is 5th, 4.8 behind Kevin Woodward. Ted Hoff is 2nd. Jen Markov in T11 is P8. Ted Hoff is 2nd, 4.8 behind Riley Gallardo. Jen Markov in T8 is 8th. Ted Hoff in T7 is P2, 4.6 behind Riley Gallardo. Andrew G is P7. Ted Hoff in the Essies is 2nd, 3.7 behind Riley Gallardo. Kevin Woodward is 4th, 4.9 behind Panzer F1. leader has just finished the race. Riley Gallardo finished first. Ted Hoff finished second. Gordon Jacobson finished P6. Panzer F1 finished third. Andrew G finished P7. Walter Phillips finished 4th. Kevin Woodward finished 5th. Jen Markov is 8th. Jen Markov finished P8.